Hello everyone, thank you so much for watching. Before you do anything else, go ahead and subscribe and activate those notifications by clicking on that bell icon below. So I love art and I'm always inspired by other artists, and I'm always researching new artists because I don't want to just reference the same ones over and over, right? So I came across Beauford Delaney. Beauford Delaney, I hope I'm saying his name right. It's an American painter. And even though blue is my favorite color, I'm very captivated by it. The color yellow, I feel like yellow speaks to me. So when I saw this painting, this one actually, I'll put it up so you can see it. I was really captivated by how bright the colors were, and I was kind of like scrolling through the images of his work, and there were a lot of yellow paintings. So I was like super excited about him. Couldn't believe that I hadn't run across his work before, I've heard of him or anything like that. So I had to buy a book because I love reading and I love just to have a tangible copies. I never use Nook or whatever all that stuff is. So I bought the book, this one, because I wanted to do some research, and also I was very curious as to see what this was about. Very unfortunate because I'm still reading the book and it's a good read, but I was a little bit upset because the first thing I did was flip through the pages to see that painting was in here, and it's not. And that really bummed me out. But anyway, a little bit of history on Beauford. Pages are already ripping off because I've gone through this book so many times. Beauford Delaney was born in Knoxville, Tennessee on December 30th to Delia Johnson Delaney and the Reverend John Samuel Delaney. And they lived on 1815 East Vine Avenue in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was actually the 8th of 10 children. That's a lot of siblings. And one of his siblings, Joseph, was also an artist, painter. I think I'm more drawn to the work of Beauford Delaney's. The work of his brother, not so much, but it is still, interesting to look at. And Beauford Delaney died on March 26, 1979. At the age of 77, he is buried in Paris, France. So let me show you some of his paintings, because if you're like me, you've probably never heard of him. Another interesting thing about him before we get into his work is that he was inspired by the work of Monet, Van Gogh, Matisse, Picasso, which are some of the artists I like to reference that I'm really drawn to. So I feel like we already have a couple of things in common. And he also, what I've gathered from this book is that he loved to paint his friend James Baldwin, who is this guy in this yellow painting, and who is what we'll be drawing and painting today. Okay, this book, like the pages are falling apart. Who printed it? Well, it's from the Knoxville Museum of Art. Another thing, I know all the paintings that are covered in this book are the ones that are part of that collection. But Knoxville Museum of Art, you need to find a better printer or publisher, because this book is falling apart. And I don't like that. His work kind of varied between figurative and abstraction. I'm more drawn to the figurative versus the abstraction, but that's not to say that I do not like abstract work. And he was obsessed with studying light, and his paintings are about that, about just referencing light. Another interesting fact, the artist Georgia O'Keeffe did at least 4 portraits of him. This one was painted in 1965. It's called Moving Sunlight. It's oil on canvas. This one right here, painted in 1968, is a portrait of Ella Fitzgerald, also oil on canvas. This right here is another portrait of James Baldwin, 1965, oil on canvas. Like I said, Beauford Delaney loved to paint James Baldwin, and he did several paintings of him. So since Beauford Delaney did not outline paintings, I'm going to have to use several different markers to draw this, because since he did an outline with black, I don't want there to be a black outline on my version of his work. So I'm going to use different color markers to draw this. I've already done some preliminary lines, and I'm just going to show you more or less my approach to drawing this, and then after that I'm going to paint it. So go grab your pencil and your eraser. In case you mess up, you can't erase. So I printed this painting that way I can, look at it. And I'm going to start with the eyes. I always like to start with the eyes. For that, I will use a black Sharpie. Half of your paper, it's like half, and then half, and then the eyes will be slightly above that mark. So then I start with 2 little happy faces. And then a sad face on top of here. And then that line underneath your eyes. The bags. Mine are designer, by the way. And then his eyeballs, so you just, easy draw 2 circles. Do the same thing on the other side. Eyelid. Oops, I probably shouldn't have done that black. So up here is the eyebrow. There's a black for his chin. And then there's another black line where his shirt starts, like because of the shadow. And I'm going to take this all the way around. So there's his chin, and then this is the bottom part of his shirt. I mean the top part of his shirt. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, there is black. It's very little, but it's there. So you're going to go up to make his head. Bring it across the top. It's curved a little bit, and then come down. And then across. This right here is kind of like his sideburns. And then you bring it around to make his ear. Now bring it down and then connect it to the shirt. So now we need the top part of his hair. So you come, this right here is like behind the ear. There's a little bit here, it's very little. So I think that's why there's the black there, but the outline I think will be sufficient. And then the top. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just, you know, create the hair somewhat like that. His neck. There's a line here, I would say, but I'm not going to do that one black because it's just like a brown color. And then the inside lines of his ear. What I like about his style is that, like Matisse, it's more about the color than the actual representation of the subject. And then his chin. I personally think his lips are too wide in here, but maybe his lips were that wide. Right above the chin is his bottom lip. And then, what is it, the Cupid's bow? That's what your head should look like. Alright, so from the Cupid's bow, you extend the line out to touch the end of this bottom lip line. And then, of course, there's a line between the two. And they're kind of angled, so they're not perfectly straight. He's kind of giving you a smirk. And then right above here, his nostrils. And then from the top of his eyebrow, you bring it down and then go out for the nostril. Same thing on this other side. And then these little expression lines that I hate sometimes will be right about here. So there we have Beauford Delaney's friend James Baldwin. Now his shirt is green, so I'm gonna switch to a green marker. His shirt's kind of interesting. There's like this billowy part that goes around his neck. I don't think it might even be a scarf. And it's kind of like, it has different layers. So before we go to that, let's just extend it to the outside of the paper to make the shoulders. Once you extend it out, then bring it down. Oops, that was crooked. Do the same thing on the other side. His leg is crossed, so you don't want to go down too low. And then this is the, bring the line down. This is this part of the jacket. I forget what that's called. Now, this, see, it's just drawn so weird. I don't know if this is a tie or not a tie. I'm going to assume it's a tie. So just do like a tie type of shape in the middle. You know, there's this part to the shirt. It's a little strange, so if it doesn't look completely like something, don't worry about it, because it's looks interesting in the painting itself. This is the sleeve, so you need 2 parallel lines. Make sure these 2 connect. This is the outline. This is the sleeve. The leg is right below it, crossed. So bring it across and then down. This is the bottom part of his coat. He's almost like sitting on it. So that's the coat right here. And then this is the pants. The bottom of his buttocks, up for his leg. Bring this down. I'm just gonna add these lines. You add them where you want to. Give the impression that it's like wrinkled, I guess. Now his hands are right here. I'm really bad at hands, and what I like about this painting and why I chose it, because usually I'm threatened when I see hands, but they're so badly done. I mean, I said, okay, if his hands don't look realistic by any means, so I guess I can attempt to make them. So this is a hand. They're like this. So that's the top of that shape. And then you see 4 of his fingers. So here are the 4 nails. And then his fingers. Like I said, they're not realistic at all. If anything, they're kind of like cartoonish. This is the other one that's hitting below this one. And then this right here, I guess that's part of his shirt. That part will be green. Now, I'm going back to the black. He's sitting on a chair. Actually, this chair is purple, not black. So, it's one of those like folding chairs. Make a triangle for the legs. I guess that's all I'm gonna do. All this will be purple, and then this part of it will be yellow. Now I need the green again to make his other leg. So his legs are crossed, like I said. You kind of see part of his leg and his sock there. And his pants wrinkled, so add some wrinkle lines. And I guess that's it. There's some wrinkle lines in here too. There's wrinkle lines throughout. I guess he didn't have an iron. That's pretty much it. Here's my interpretation of Beauford Delaney's portrait of James Baldwin, his best friend. So now what I'm gonna do is, with watercolor, paint everything yellow, just because the base is yellow. So I'm gonna paint the whole thing yellow. Alright, so I added the first layer of yellow. Since it's watercolor, I have to wait for the paper to dry completely before adding another layer. I went ahead and did acrylic on the background. So this is watercolor, and I'm just going to start laying the watercolor. So I am finally done. I deviated from the way he did his work because he never outlined in black, but I felt like mine, he did it to be outlined in black. So I took some creative liberties, and you should. When you make something, you should make it your own. So take all the artistic liberties that you want to make something that's you and reflects you as an artist. But yeah, this was actually harder than I thought it was, just because at first glance it does seem like a very simple painting, but it was hard. I don't know if it was just because I was trying to match the color and I ended not matching it. I think I started with the idea of recreating it, which was my mistake, because normally I go into things to try to make them my own. Once I snapped out of that, then I was able to finally finish it. I wanted to show like he was wearing a yellow shirt underneath. This is my version of Delaney's work. I forgot my favorite part, which is removing these tapes. I think that just makes it look that much better. Oh, I cut myself with the staple. Oh. Alright. Till next time. Adios y bye.